What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. We've talked on the YouTube channel about Alan Wake and this future and what we want as far as this to be a full-blown franchise, and we haven't gotten that at this point in time, guys, but I wanted to talk in this segment of the show about will there be an Alan Wake 2? So let's talk about it. So guys, I've talked on the YouTube channel a number of times about Alan Wake 2 and, just the future in general of the Alan Wake this IP, and you guys can check out all of that content. We have to give some context, though, that obviously, guys, Remedy Entertainment are the ones who are, the developers of Alan Wake, also the developers of Control. And what we know, guys, is that Control was very well received. Alan Wake was well received as well. Remedy's done a really great job. And so what you could technically say is that Alan Wake and Control, obviously within the same universe, obviously with the AWE DLC that came out for Control, very much so there were ties to the Alan Wake universe. So pretty much what we got, guys, is confirmation that Control is within the Alan Wake franchise. Now, to answer this question, just right off the bat, will there be an Alan Wake 2? I would have to say, guys, yes, but I think it might be a different way than what you might kind of expect. I don't think it's going to be called Alan Wake 2. I think that it's probably going to be something completely different, a totally different name, guys. They had Alan Wake, now they have Control, and then what I would assume is they're not going to make a Control 2. I would say they're going to make something totally different, but is within that same universe. It's within the same universe as Alan Wake, same universe as Control, and so it's within that same, world. And so what I think that Remedy is going to go ahead and end up doing is probably create something that's, whether it's somewhat of a linear story that's, similar to Control and Alan Wake, or maybe something totally different that ends up, tying in one way or another to this universe. I just don't really see them making a sequel, like direct sequel as to like Alan Wake 2, Control 2, even though I think it would be, in my opinion, it would make a lot of sense because people know Alan Wake. People obviously now, even more than ever, know Control. So why not make a sequel to that? Because they can use the name Control, the name Alan Wake, and it could really just sell itself. Whereas if you're making a totally new game that has a totally new name, even if it's within that universe, it might not resonate as well, and a lot of people might not even know necessarily that's in the same universe. So that being said, there are still people to this day that don't know that Control is within the Alan Wake universe. And so I think it would be smart for them to do an Alan Wake 2. Now, you can never say never, guys. There's obviously a possibility, strong possibility, that they would do a direct sequel to Alan Wake 2, or a direct sequel to Control, that being like Control 2. So, I when I say that I do believe that there will be an Alan Wake, or like a continuation of it, yet it just wouldn't be called Alan Wake 2, it'd be called something totally different, but within that same universe. I do think that they are absolutely working on their next project that's within this universe. And now, could it be Alan Wake 2? Absolutely. Could it be Control 2? Absolutely. But if you had asked me, guys, I think it's going to be something new, fresh, but within the same universe. So that's kind of my long answer to the question, will there be an Alan Wake 2? Look, guys, I've said this many times. I believe that Alan Wake, that needs to continue, right? There needs to be a continuation here. We technically got it with Control. Do I think Control needs a continuation? Absolutely. But I like the way Remedy's doing it. It's very interesting to me. And we'll have to see, as time goes, what they might decide to do. I think Remedy, they've got a lot of creative people over there that are working very hard on this next title. And so so I'm excited about it. I really am. I think that there is a lot of possibility, a lot of potential to this, just this universe as a whole. And so I definitely hope that they continue it in one capacity or another, whether it's called Alan Wake 2, whether it's called Control 2, or something totally new. But let me know, guys. In the comment section down below, what do you guys think? Do you think Alan Wake 2 is going to be the next title by Remedy? Or do you think it's going to be Control 2, or you think it'll be something completely new altogether that's within the same universe? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Alan Wake 2 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked a lot on the YouTube channel about Dead Space, this franchise as a whole, guys, from, past to present, where we stand, and then of course the future, if there is one, even though it seems pretty bleak at this point in time. We talk quite a bit about Dead Space, guys. Why? Because it's one of my favorite, horror video games of all time. I believe it was one of the greatest ever created. And look, overall, guys, we asked the question a lot about Dead Space 4, what it could look like, where is it? Why hasn't it happened yet? And today I want to talk about, will we see a Dead Space 4, a true continuation of this franchise moving forward? Or is this another, title out there that's in a limbo state, or a state of no return? And could it, ever come back? Will it ever come back? We're going to talk about those things right now. So Dead Space has been, over the years, one of my favorite, horror franchises ever. I think it was one of the best ever made, guys. And I have preached on this YouTube channel how badly I believe that Dead Space needs to come back in a number of different ways. Look, guys, this was a title that not only were, not only consisted of video games, but also movies that were brought out, and comics and all kinds of different things. And look, I know that there were certainly, peaks and valleys in this franchise over the course of time, whether you're talking, with Dead Space 3, the release of that was, it just, and ultimately was kind of that last straw that really created a title that saw a lot of backlash from the fan base because of Dead Space 3. Ultimately, it basically closed, it got Visceral Games closed by Electronic Arts, and we haven't seen another continuation up to this point in time. So, the short answer, guys, will there be a Dead Space 4? I think the answer to that is no. I don't think that it would be called Dead Space 4. I think that it would be something more of like a soft reboot of the franchise, should, Electronic Arts ever bring it back, or if they could potentially sell the IP. I've talked to many people, guys, and I think that there really is interest out there that there would be a developer that would be interested in purchasing the IP. You don't see it a lot, though. You don't usually see developers go out there and actively try to buy an IP from a publisher. More often we see big publishers buying out, development teams. We saw Microsoft buying Bethesda, but they bought them as a whole. It wasn't just one specific IP, it's buying the entirety of it. So I feel that if a group, a team of developers, or if you even want to say other publishers out there, would want to purchase an IP like Dead Space, they would have to obviously go through Electronic Arts, and I feel like Electronic Arts would have to sell the IPs associated with Visceral Games, which obviously Visceral shut down. It's really an unfortunate spot because I believe that there's still a lot there. I really do. I've stated that many times, guys, that there is still certainly a big, passionate fan base for Dead Space, that people really want to see this come back. Like I said, guys, I've been a huge fan since the very first game. I even have, right here, I wanted to show you guys a photo of Gunnar Wright, or I should say, one of his, he sent me this. He just said best wishes, and with his signature. I told him I was a big fan of Dead Space, and so he went ahead and sent that over to me. He is the voice of Isaac Clarke in Dead Space. Thought that was really cool. And, I just think, when I was talking to him, I spoke with him briefly through email. I asked him if he thought that the character would ever return, and he said there was conversation at different points in time, but he hasn't heard anything for a while from EA or anything of that nature. But he would be very interested in coming back to being the voice of Isaac Clarke once again. Now that leads us to the next thing. A soft reboot. Could we see it? I absolutely think so. I think that the first 3 games could very well get a remaster that we could maybe get on the new consoles, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. And then, EA tests the waters once again, see, how many people there really still are here for this franchise. And if there's a nice size, large chunk of people still really loving it, they can greenlight like kind of a soft reboot. Now, would it be Isaac Clarke? Probably not. I would say that they're probably going to go in a different direction somewhat. But the downfall of Dead Space as a whole, guys, we've talked about this before, was Dead Space 3. But it was really the identity crisis, in my opinion. EA, if it was EA or if it was Visceral Games, I'm not sure who exactly it was, but this decision to go away from this title being a horror game, they basically made it an action title with horror elements instead of a horror game with action elements, which is what the first 2 games did so well. They were kind of, they changed it. They changed the identity of what Dead Space was all about, and so that's why I think really hurt it in the long run. But then on top of that, they were behind the curve when it came to multiplayer, to different co-op modes. Sure, they had co-op in Dead Space 3, but it was very limited. It wasn't like they had a lot of other, different game modes, no multiplayer, not more reasons for people to come back to the IP over and over again. So I think that there were a lot of problems just from a overall, from just Dead Space 3 should have been really rounded out this trilogy as a whole, and it really felt like it didn't. It felt so different from the first 2 games, in my personal opinion. Sure, felt like the gameplay and such was pretty similar, but it was so much more about the action than it was about the horror, which is what the first 2 games were so good with. And then there was talk that Dead Space 4, that was going to happen, and in its early concepts, they were going to take the action elements even further, and this came out from a number of reports from people working over at Visceral Games and EA. So, I mean, they were going down this direction that I think would have lost so many people in the community. And so could it actually be a good thing that Dead Space 4 never happened because they could have just ruined the IP altogether? That's another conversation. But will there be a Dead Space 4 at the end of the day, guys? I don't think it would be called Dead Space 4 because it's been a number of years. I feel like a soft reboot makes more sense. It gives people that option to, if they did a remaster where you could play the first few games, similar to what Mafia did. The Mafia games, they've, remastered some of those early titles, those first 3 games, and what they're doing now, I would assume, is working on Mafia 4. And I feel like Dead Space could kind of do something similar, where they see how many people in the fan base are still there that would love to see a continuation and just love the games for what they are, and they're playing those remastered games. Dead Space could do that, or you could have like the first 3 games are remastered as a bundle, and it comes with Dead Space 4 or something along those lines. Something really cool that I think that they could do, guys. It's hard to say if it'll ever happen, just because of Visceral Games being shut down, and EA doesn't look like they have any intention of bringing back Dead Space, at least in the short term. But let me know, guys, what do you think? You think they'll bring Dead Space back into the into video games as a whole and around the community? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Dead Space 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Mafia is one of my favorite franchises, guys, out there, and I have wanted to see a continuation of this title, of this IP, and because I think there's really something special there. I do believe that there's been a number of reasons why we haven't seen a new Mafia up to this point in time, and I'll get to that here shortly, but I want to talk about, in this segment of the show, will there be a Mafia 4? I think, we've talked about earlier in the show, we've talked about Alan Wake and that future of that franchise or of that IP. Dead Space, the future there. Now with Mafia 4. We've talked a lot on the YouTube channel about the Mafia franchise. You guys can check out all of that content. But Mafia 4 in particular is one that many of us are talking about. That being us in the community, and something that we absolutely want to see. I believe that it definitely needs to happen, guys. We got the definitive edition here in 2020, which I thought was great, right? Absolutely awesome. I'm glad that they brought this thing out, and I think that there is a lot of really special things to it. I love it from a graphical perspective, and just all of those things, guys. It was just awesome to be able to play like a remastered version of Mafia 2. It's been a number of years since we had Mafia 3. Mafia 3, guys, it came out in 2016, just as a refresher. And so we've been waiting. We've been waiting and waiting for a continuation of this franchise, if there was going to be one. Now, many people believed that Mafia 4 was not going to happen because of Mafia 3 and, the general reception about Mafia 3. I enjoyed Mafia 3. It was not as good as the first two. I thought the second one was probably my favorite. The first one has a ton of nostalgia, so I absolutely loved the first one. But I really enjoyed the second game. The third one, I'm not going to say I disliked it. I liked it. I just didn't like it as much as the first two. So where does that leave us? Well, at the end of the day, guys, there's two things. The first one is the general reception of a title, and the second part of it is, the sales. Those are the two things that can make and break a franchise, or continue it, or put it into a limbo state, or a state of no return. And so here's what we know. We know that Mafia has sold well. We know the definitive edition, up to this point, it seems like it's selling well. We don't know as of quite yet what the sales of definitive edition are, but it seems like it's probably going to be somewhat of a success. There's been a lot of talk about a Mafia 4. There's been leaks that have come out stating that it's going to be based in Las Vegas, which would be absolutely incredible. That right there, the setting is usually everything when we talk about one of these Mafia titles, and I think that could very well be, if done right, could be one of the best in the franchise up to this point. But here's the thing, guys. Will there be a Mafia 4? I do believe there will. But if this franchise is going to sustain itself and it's going to continue after Mafia 4, there are some things that need to happen. And I've stated this, guys, on the YouTube channel ad nauseum at this point about all these different IPs, all these different franchises that we talk about here. Whether they are franchises that have had continuations or franchises that are in a limbo state or are, in a development health cycle. There are, these titles have so much potential, like Mafia, for example, has so much potential to be something absolutely incredible. And it's great for what it is, but if we're honest about it, after you're done playing the campaign, you're waiting for the DLC to come out. Or you play the game over again, maybe on a harder difficulty. You go try to find some collectibles, whatever it might be, explore the city. And then once those DLCs come out, that gives you some more content to take in, usually a few hours worth of content. What I'm getting at here, guys, is full packages. We need full packages, and Mafia is no different. It needs to have a full campaign as it has had. It needs co-op modes and multiplayer modes. I'll give you an example. We have Grand Theft Auto. GTA Online comes out, guys, and it's one of the biggest things out there when we talk about multiplayer modes in any title out there. And the reason is, guys, is because it gives you something to do outside of the campaign, outside of that story mode. You can play with your friends and things of that nature. Imagine a Mafia Online. I can see it. I think it could be absolutely incredible. And it could really keep you coming back to the title over and over again. Even just having a more standard multiplayer where it's PvP or PvE, or if it's, you are at least able to play with your friends in co-op modes. I think that's very important. Up to this point, Mafia has only been a single player experience. And I think it's important that they evolve that. And maybe, just maybe, that is why we haven't gotten an announcement of a Mafia 4 yet, because Hangar 13 is working very hard behind the scenes to make those things happen. So, look. As far as from a publisher's perspective, 2K Games are the ones who are the publishers of the Mafia series. They are also the publishers of Grand Theft Auto. So you would think that this would have happened a while ago, having a full package like Grand Theft Auto has. Mafia, in my opinion, I've stated this many times, guys, I've always liked Mafia as far as from a story perspective, have liked it much more than GTA. I love the story of Mafia. I think it's very well done. But where GTA has done, a much better job than that of Mafia is by constantly evolving to co-op modes, to multiplayer modes. Mafia has kind of stayed stationary. They stayed in one place. And over time, guys, that can really hurt a franchise. And so here's what I'm hoping happens here in the future. I hope we get an announcement first and foremost for Mafia 4, but then on top of that, we get a full package out of it. We get announced that there's going to be an online mode as well as co-op modes, and, I do think that there is going to be a Mafia 4. Now, when it will come out, I would assume, guys, because of everything going on in our world right now, we're probably going to get an announcement in 2021. I would say the game will probably come out in 2022. The big question, though, is are they working on multiple definitive editions, or are they just going to be doing the one and now they're, or they have multiple teams that are working on different Mafia titles, different definitive editions as well as, Mafia 4? It's hard to say. I would say, though, we're going to get an announcement next year, 2021. And then hopefully we get the title in 2022, depending on how far along they are. The one thing I will say is, I'm okay with waiting for a while. If we're going to be waiting for something that is, has a full package, something that is, multiplayer modes, co-op modes, campaign, take your time, Hangar 13, just take your time. Deliver something to us where we can come back to over and over again, years to come after the game releases. There's so much content even outside the campaign that we can take in. That's what I want to see, and fingers crossed on that. But at the end of the day, guys, Mafia 4, I believe, is going to come out unless that it goes into a development hell cycle, or there's creative differences, or they just don't really, 2K doesn't like the direction that Mafia is going in. But I think that Las Vegas is a great setting for this next title. I want to hear from you guys, though. What do you think? Do you think we're going to get a Mafia 4 at some point or another? Would you guys want to see a full package out of Mafia, or just what we've been having, just a single-player story? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Mafia 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. When we talk about dark, gritty stories in video games as a whole, one that comes to the top of my list is Max Payne. This is a title, a franchise, guys, that, when it started, what a dark, gritty story. But it was one of my favorites when it released on the original Xbox. I grabbed a copy, and it was one of the first games I ever played on Xbox. And I fell in love with this story, characters. Everything about it was just, it was very dark, very gritty, but the action, bullet time, there were just so many things that made me absolutely love this title. Second game comes out. I didn't like it quite as much as the first one, but it was still that same kind of that dark, that gritty feel, and it never stopped, even in Max Payne 3. And so ever since then, guys, I've always, after each title that's come out, I've always looked forward to what could come next in this franchise. One of my favorites out there. And I want to talk about, will there be Max Payne 4? Because we've talked about Max Payne and we've talked about the future of this franchise. You guys can check out all of that content here on the YouTube channel. Max Payne 4 is a title that I've stated needs to happen. I believe that this is one that needs to coexist with other games out there, other shooters out there. And I think that it's definitely within, the interest of Rockstar to continue Max Payne. Now, sure, look, when we look at, what Rockstar has done, they own the IP, obviously, at this point in time, and Max Payne 3, I thought, was good. I didn't think it was as good as the first one. I think the first one, obviously, for me, guys, it's going to be hard to top that one. But now that Rockstar kind of has their footing in this franchise, I think they can make something really special with Max Payne 4. Also knowing what we know with Red Dead Redemption 2, what we know with GTA, we know that both of those have created full packages for Rockstar has for those titles, that being co-op modes, multiplayer modes, and, obviously a full-blown campaign. what I think would be really cool with Max Payne is taking this similar approach. Sure, Max Payne 3 had multiplayer. It pretty much had a full package to it, but I think making it open world, semi-open world, similar to Grand Theft Auto, similar to Red Dead, could really kind of freshen it up somewhat. Then on top of that, you create a Max Payne online, similar to Red Dead Online, similar to GTA Online. Something along those lines could very much so, I think, really help expand upon, the lore, the story, the universe that they're trying to build here with Max Payne. Now, there's been a ton of rumblings, tons of talks as to what the next project is by Rockstar. And so, if we're being honest, guys, it sounded like Bully 2 was going to be the next game coming out. And then that, of course, got canceled more recently than not. And, so that leaves us with, well, what are they working on now? Many were saying that it's a new Grand Theft Auto, which I do agree. I believe that GTA is the next title up and coming. It makes sense, for Rockstar to be working on mainly their two biggest IPs are Red Dead and GTA. And I think Max Payne could certainly be up there if they make another game. But I do think that GTA 6 is probably what's coming. But it might be a number of years until we see that. So what else are they working on? Are they working on an LA Noire 2? Are they working on a new Manhunt? Are they, there's a bunch of titles and IPs that they could be working on. So do I think Max Payne 4 is in the cards for them? Absolutely, guys. With Bully 2 getting canceled, that leaves us with, they could be working on other new IPs. That certainly could be happening. But if they're not and they're working on IPs that they currently own, Max Payne makes more sense to me than LA Noire, making a second LA Noire. Bully had a very big fan base, and I think that would have done well had they made a second. It doesn't really matter what game it is that Rockstar comes out with, because it's probably going to do well because it's Rockstar, and people just love playing those games. What makes the most sense is for them to go back and forth between Red Dead and GTA, but I think adding Max Payne into that mix, having a Max Payne online, it would be easily integrated. They could do so much more with Max Payne than they could with like Bully, or they could with probably LA Noire. Bully, you could probably do, a good amount of different things. I just think it would be kind of difficult with LA Noire to, to add like a full package there. But, I mean, obviously, I think it's important that, any AAA title that comes out needs to have a full package for it to really start building a community and fan base. So, I mean, you can never say never, but I think Max Payne makes most sense right now for Rockstar. Create a Max Payne 4, make it a full package, create Max Payne Online so that people are able to go to it over and over again. I really think that this is an IP that needs to continue, guys. I really do. Now, where's the story going? All of those things. That's something that, we're going to have to kind of wait and see. I think there's a number of directions you could go in. One of those would be, I always bring up Gears of War, guys, because what Gears of War did so well was you had a few games, that being 3 games, that were with the main character, Marcus Phoenix. That was the guy that you would play as. And then after those first 3 games, they kind of mixed it up, that being Epic Games. And then, of course, Epic Games, the IP went to the Coalition over at Microsoft. So they switched the characters up. So then you played the son of Marcus Phoenix in Gears of War 4. And then in Gears 5, it went from the son JD Phoenix to Kate D as a new character in the universe. And so what they did was they've moved on from the main characters and kind of have evolved them. I think Max Payne's the same thing. You don't necessarily have to play as Max Payne. You could play as a young Max Payne, or you could play as Max Payne's son, or whatever it might be. I think there are a number of different ways that you could go about in this upcoming title with Max Payne 4. I know people have talked about how Max Payne's getting older, and I agree. I think that what needs to happen is that the torch needs to be passed from one character to the next. Max Payne needs to pass that torch after Max Payne 4 to another character, a new character, up-and-coming character that we can kind of, play as, and that kind of will lead us into the next generation of the Max Payne titles. I think that's really important, guys. I really do. I think Max Payne, there is still absolutely something there. There is a big following around Max Payne. I think it could be something really special if Rockstar decides to do it. But the question is, guys, is what do you think? Do you think that there will be a Max Payne 4? Do you think Rockstar will greenlight that project if they haven't already? Or do you think they're just going to be, kind of creating new IPs, working on GTA, Red Dead? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Max Payne 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.